Good afternoon and welcome to the Knit Shift episode 113. My name is Lara and today is Saturday, November 24th, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me, whether it's your first visit to the Knit Shift or you've been hanging out with me a while. I really appreciate your support. Show notes can be found at theknitshift.com. This episode is available on iTunes and YouTube and will be embedded at the blog. I'm on Ravelry as Yarnstormer. I'm on Instagram as Lara Mahalski, and feel free to friend me in both of those locations. And we do have a group for the podcast over on Rav. If you search for the Knit Shift, you will find us. We just wrapped up the Finish That Sweater knit along on Ravelry in our Rav group. We had a great turnout. I didn't count up the total number of FOs, but there were about 60 posts in the group, so thank you to everyone for participating. I have not yet shared what the prize will be. I drew a number before I started recording. I asked Siri to pick a number between 2 and 58 because I was post number 1, and 58 was the final post, and it chose number 52. And that post was, I can't pronounce this, but it's Chulahu Loves Me, who is Jen in California. And she finished a beautiful boxy sweater. So congrats, Jen. If you see this, please DM me and I will mail you your prize, which includes, whoops, everything is stacked rather precariously, just off camera. This adorable stuffed alpaca, courtesy of my mom, who bought it as a podcast gift ages ago. It's so cute. And you're getting a project bag. This was also a donation for the podcast, with a little Scotty dog on the back. So yeah, there you go. So congrats, Jen. Thanks to everyone for participating. What next? Let's get to the knitting, shall we? I don't have a ton of time to record today. I have to be at work in theoretically 90 minutes, and that was the oven beeping that it had preheated so I could heat up my leftovers for dinner or for lunch. So let us get to the knitting content. I have quite a few FOs to share with you, but only one of them to share in person. So let's talk about the FOs that are not here quite yet. That are not here, period, because they've been given away. So I knit a hat for my niece, Olivia. I picked up this yarn. This was Malabrigo. I forget the line of yarn, but it's super chunky. It's basically like roving. And I knit her a hat. Unfortunately, it was too small. I mailed it to her, but it's too small. So I'm gonna knit her another hat with this and something else that I'll show you in a little bit. My biggest FO, my biggest FO of the year was a crocheted blanket I made for my friend Emily and her now husband Christopher. They got married October 13th in Michigan, and I went to the wedding. I talked about my trip on the last episode. And I crocheted them a blanket out of Caron Simply Soft in gray and white and with a little splash of yellow. They loved it. They were so over the moon with it. It was crocheted from a pattern by Jan Eaton in her crochet book. I think it's called 200 Ripple Stitches, and it has both crochet and knitting patterns. It's one of the best books out there. I think it's out of print, but you can probably get it used on Amazon. Yeah, I'm really happy with the project. It's taller than me and I'm 6 feet tall. They loved it. It's like the perfect size to kind of cuddle together under the couch. Emily said they used it to watch a scary movie together, and she was kind of watching, you know, the crochet stitches that has a little bit of holes in it, so she was kind of watching it through her eyes, so she didn't have to see the whole thing, which really made my day to hear that. It was so cute. So I'm so thrilled they love it. Then my other FO that I don't have to show with you is a sweater for a new baby. I mentioned last time that a friend of mine had her second son, and I didn't know she was expecting. They kept the news quiet for reasons I won't get into, but she basically just said, surprise, I had another baby. And so I really had to hustle to make little Dylan something. His name is Dylan. And I knit a baby surprise jacket out of Spun Right Round in the colorway Dreamcatcher, and it's gray with little speckles of blue, various shades of blue and green, and it's really sweet. And so yeah, so I mailed that off. I think it took me about 2 weeks, and they love it, and they sent me a photo of him wearing it, and it just made my day to see that. So that was another FO of mine. And that's the second baby surprise jacket I've knit and finished this year. I have another one as a work in progress. So really happy with Baby Surprise Jacket by Elizabeth Zimmerman. It's just a fantastic pattern. Perfect for a baby knit. A little tricky to understand your first time, but it's a really good pattern. And my final FO, the one that's in person, is a pair of socks for myself. These were a pair of commute socks. This is Gale's Art Yarn in a sock blank colorway, and I have some of the blank left to show you. So these are pink and purple and white, and I really love how they turn out. They're fraternal, they are not perfectly matching, which I'm really okay with. And here's what the sock blank looked like. If you're unfamiliar with a sock blank, it's basically a piece of knitted fabric, and they paint it and stamp it, and you knit directly from the blank. So you can just kind of pull it and it unravels like a sweater. So you can see that all these stars, see the gold star and the purple star and like the black star, that's what makes these little blips of color. So I'm really happy with these. These are my 8th pair of socks for the year. You can see I still have to weave in the ends. Even though you're knitting directly from fabric, I don't think it looks especially crinkly. A wash will even up any crinkliness from knitting directly from the sock blank. So I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, I did these toe up, which is my usual MO, and ended with Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. So yeah, so that is it for my FOs, and I have 3 works in progress to share with you. I have 2 socks and a toddler sweater. So let's talk socks. I want to knit a pair of socks for my friend Brian, who is turning 40 in about 3.5 weeks, mid-December. And I wanted to knit him a pair of socks with a slightly larger than usual needle size, because when I knit socks for men, if I can go up a needle size to like make the knitting a little faster, I totally will. So I started this opal sock yarn, and it's been flying along. So this is what that looks like in the skein. It's this lovely brown and orange and blue. And here's what it looks like all knit up. I really like how this is working up. However, I didn't realize this until, right about here. So, you know, 5 or 6 inches into the sock. I did not knit these on big needles. I picked up a size 0. These are my good old trusty ChiaoGus. I did not knit these on the right size that I wanted. And so the foot is a little bit narrow too. It's a little narrow for a men's sock. So I said, these socks are gonna be for me instead. And I'm gonna start a new pair for Brian. So I'm still working on these, but they're kind of set aside at the moment because I don't need a pair of socks. I'm really trying to get Brian's socks done before his birthday. So we'll see if I get that done. So let me show you Brian's actual socks. Also opal sock yarn, perhaps a slightly more neutral masculine shade. And I'm only this far. But I really like them. And I think he will too. So definitely a US 1.5, flying along on these lovely brown and gray socks. So these are definitely my commute project of choice right now, so that I can hopefully get them done before his birthday. I also need to try and figure out what size shoe he wears. So I work with him, and I've been trying to like look at his feet, but not in a creepy way. So I'm trying to like check out his shoes whenever he walks by. Hopefully I'll get the size right, we'll see. Yeah, it's not creepy at all to be a sock knitter. No, not at all. My other work in progress I'm carrying around in this delightful hedgehog bag that I got at Spun in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I decided to knit my niece a sweater for Christmas. I really wanted to have one done and that she could grow into in the coming years. So this is the Flax Light sweater, which is basically the Tin Can Knits pattern for flax, which is a worsted weight pattern, but Flax Light is to knit the sweater out of fingering weight. And I have a ton of fingering weight yarn, and my niece is a toddler, so it felt like a really good match. I picked up these yarn, this Primrose yarn at Spun. Oops, I bumped the camera. I picked this up at Spun in Ann Arbor when I was in Michigan last month. This is Primrose Ultimate Sock 80/20, so my favorite sock blend, in Space Cadet and Dirty Rainbow Sherbet. So I just couldn't stop thinking about these two yarns together. I think they're just so pretty. I'm obsessed with this Dirty Rainbow Sherbet. So I decided to stripe the yarn. And here's this little sweater. Isn't it so cute? I just love it. It's a super subtle stripe, obviously. And the Dirty Rainbow Sherbet is kind of coming out like a bit of mostly minty. And I think this is so sweet. So Flax is a sweater where it's mostly stockinette and then you knit these garter panels down the sleeve, but I opted to do all stockinette. So this is a really simple sock pattern. Really simple, really simple sweater pattern, and they size it basically from newborn up to like 5X. So the pattern fits whatever size. It's free, it's wonderful. I can't recommend Tin Can Knits patterns enough. So I'm just about ready to finish the body and start the sleeves. So I'm knitting this, the cuff, the ribbing around the neck was on a size 3 and the body is with the size 5. So I'm really, oopsie, just dropped something on the desk. I'm really enjoying this knit, and I'm hoping to finish the body even tonight. We'll see. My boyfriend had to go to Texas, kind of a family emergency, so I'm alone this weekend, and I think after I come home from work tonight, sitting and knitting and watching some more Great British Bake Off would be like just the thing. So I have a little bit of yarns to share with you. It's been, I had some yarns to share last time because I did some damage in Michigan. I forgot to show this last time, I'm almost certain. I picked this up at Yarn Club in Virginia Beach, which was my old yarn shop, my old local yarn store back in Virginia Beach. This is Junk Yarn Boss Sock, which is the 80/20 base, and this is the colorway Padme. And it's this super pale pastel cream and a little bit of pale yellow and mint. Love that little mint right here. And a little bit of speckles here. So this will definitely be in a shawl somehow. So that was left over from last time. And then, so if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen this in my Instagram stories. I told myself I wasn't gonna go to Fiber Space's Black Friday sale. Fiber Space is my local yarn shop here in Alexandria. And then I was like, I can't resist. I'm local now. I don't know why I didn't go last year, but I definitely didn't go last Black Friday a year ago. So I was like, I'm just gonna get, you know, thinking about this super chunky yarn, I was like, I'll get a skein and stripe it with the yarn I already have and make Olivia a hat that actually fits her. And I'll buy some sock needles. So one skein of super chunky and a bunch of sock needles, call it a day. Yo. This is not just a skein of super chunky. I did some damage. So here's the super chunky. I at least remembered to get what I wanted. Ooh, these look nice together. I wanted kind of a subtle stripe, nothing too crazy, kind of neutral, and I'm really happy with this. So this is Manos del Uruguay Franca, which is a super chunky, similar vibe, you know, the single ply sock yarn. So I'm gonna wind this up, cast it on as soon as possible. And then I went up, they had everything was 25% off for Black Friday, but upstairs they also had stuff that was just 30% off. And there was this brand of yarn I had never heard of before called Pachinku. I kept reading it as Pikachu, like the Pokemon, but it's Pachinku. And it's all natural Peruvian yarn, botanically dyed by women artisans in Cusco, Peru. No chemicals, no nonsense, just beautiful yarn. And this is a merino silk blend, and it was dyed with Kinsa Kusitu. I can't read the writing on this. Kinsa Kusitu, I think is what it says. And the colorway is Neblina, and it's this lovely minty gray green. That's about as best as I can do color-wise, but it's a sport weight wool silk blend, and it's super squishy and super soft, and this is a total of like 880 yards, and it was a really good price thanks to the big sale. And they also had some Madeline Tosh twist sock, or I'm sorry, Hedgehog Fibers twist sock, and I loved this brown colorway called Stone, so I picked this up too. Also 30% off, like the Neblina. And I got 4 pairs of sock needles. I got 2 size 0s and 2 size 1s. Let's see. I got Hiya Hiya Sharps in size 0, ChiaoGoo's in size 1, ChiaoGoo's in size 0, and a set of Hiya Hiyas, not sharps, but I'm sure plenty sharp in US 1. So 2 zeros, 2 sets of zeros, 2 sets of 1s, and I'm very happy with those. So always good to stock up on the sock needle collection. So this brings me to the almost end of the podcast and just a little bit of life chat. And frankly, it's kind of something I've been dreading because I haven't been sure how I was gonna say this or what I was gonna say, and I still don't know what I'm gonna say. But you guys know I've been making this podcast for 3 years? Gosh, 3 years? It's at least 2 years. It was March. I think it was 2016, but it was probably more like March 2015 when I started this podcast. And it's been great, and I really love making it, but I'm really not sure what the future holds for the Knit Shift. I'm fine, everything's fine. It's just making the podcast takes a lot of time, and my life is such that I don't have a ton of knitting time as much as I would like anymore. Even though I take the train to work most nights of the week and I can knit there, I'm just not as focused with my knitting anymore. And I feel like I don't have as much to share, so I put off filming podcasts. And then when I do film a podcast, I have so much to catch up on, I kind of feel like I rush the whole thing, and it takes a lot to put it together and gather my possessions and gather my new yarn that I bought. And this is such a first world problem. I feel so stupid even talking about it, but my heart isn't in podcasting right now. So I don't know if I don't think the podcast is ending per se. Let's just say it's on a little bit of a hiatus, and I don't know when I'll be back. I'm gonna try to film, you know, I don't know that I'm ready to call it quits, but I also don't know that I want to commit to a podcast. You know, obviously it's been 6 weeks since I made my last podcast, so I feel really crappy talking about this, but because it's been such a big part of my life, but I'm just a little conflicted about where to go with this going forward. Yeah, so that's kind of where things stand. Perhaps I'll have, maybe after the holidays, I'll have a change of heart. I don't know, but for right now, this is what I'm thinking. I had already spoken on earlier episodes about not using iTunes anymore. Come like early next year, I don't plan on retaining my episodes on iTunes anymore because it's too expensive, and I'm definitely not doing that considering I'm thinking about kind of putting the podcast on hiatus. So it's hard to justify what is like $300 a year for iTunes storage when I'm only making like a podcast a month. So it's just, I can't justify that. So I don't want to justify that. So yeah, that's kind of where things are right now. So I hope people who are watching on iTunes, perhaps you can switch to YouTube. But I'm just not ready to call it quits, but I just think it's best if everyone just kind of considers the Knit Shift to be on a little bit of a hiatus for the moment. We'll see where things go after the holidays. You know, holidays always get crazy. And we'll see. But that's basically all I have to say. I'm not calling it quits because I feel like I would have more to say, like a speech, like a farewell speech, but that's not what today is, I'm sure of it. So until next time, enjoy your knitting. Happy stitching. Have a great weekend for my American friends. I hope you had a great holiday, a great Thanksgiving, and hopefully I'll see you guys again soon. Mwah. Bye.